Hello and welcome back to the North Somerset Educational Psychology Service online training library. The focus of this video is top tips for running literacy intervention groups in primary and secondary schools. And we'll do this in three parts. First, a discussion of why literacy interventions are important. Next, a recipe of the important ingredients of a good intervention. And finally, a summary and some suggestions for next steps. This video is for anyone who wants to help children and young people boost their reading, writing and spelling skills, especially teaching assistants, learning support staff and SENCOs. So let's set the scene here with a reminder of why literacy interventions matter. And perhaps most importantly, is that literacy is foundational to learning across the curriculum. Reading and writing are critical tools for accessing knowledge in every subject, from science and geography to maths and history. And it's well known that without support, literacy gaps tend to grow over time. Struggling readers and writers often become demotivated and lacking in confidence in the classroom. However, literacy interventions offer young people a chance to catch up and build confidence. With the right approach, real progress is possible, and often more quickly than we expect. And this reduces disadvantages faced by certain groups and supports them to feel inclusion and belonging. For example, pupils with special educational needs, or for whom English is an additional language. And for all young people, literacy is closely linked to long-term life chances, including employment, further education, and overall well-being. So what are the key ingredients of an effective literacy intervention? Well, first off, they need a clear purpose and target. They should be focused on a specific area of literacy, for example, phonics or comprehension or spelling or reading fluency. They should be based on data where possible, for example using phonics screening assessments, reading and spelling age tests, or timed reading or written exercises. And the data should be used to establish a baseline, a starting point which demonstrates the progress someone has made. And the next ingredient is consistency. Our literacy group should follow a structured program, for example the Read Write Inc., Fresh Start, or Catch Up literacy programs. They should happen regularly, whether that's a daily short burst of 5 to 10 minutes or a weekly 30 to 60-minute session. And they should contain predictable routines within them to reduce the mental load on students following along. For example, a session might always start with a warm-up word game, followed by a reading task, and end with a reflection or recap. The next ingredient is known as evidence-based practice, and this means using interventions whose impact is proven by research. For example, the national review known as What Works for Literacy Difficulties, which you can download from the Educational Psychology Service Training Library website. We should avoid unstructured or one-off sessions which are not sustainable, and it's important to trust the process. Even if sessions feel repetitive or slow to start, consistency really does pay off. Okay, so ingredient number 4 is a positive learning environment, and this includes establishing a quiet, low distraction space for our group. As well as providing useful literacy tools such as word banks, writing frames, phonics charts, and enlarged texts, loads of which you'll find at the Educational Psychology Service training website, linked in the description under this video. It also refers to the emotional environment, including building relationships through rapport building and ice-breaking activities. The next important ingredient is building independence and motivation, and this involves praising effort rather than scores or marks. We want to help reinforce students' belief that literacy skills result from effort rather than natural talent. It's also about praising learners for using specific strategies that boost their independence, like chunking or say it, count it, write it. And there's a handy guide to these strategies on the Educational Psychology Service Training Library website, linked in the description box under this video. And last but not least, we can help build independence by gradually reducing our level of support and encouraging independent use of tools and strategies. Okay, so moving on to the sixth ingredient of a great literacy intervention, we need to link what we do with classroom learning. And firstly, this involves us sharing strategies which we've observed students to find useful with their teachers, whether that's their class teacher in a primary school or all teachers in a secondary school, for example by adding them to a one-page pupil profile. We can also share the specific scripts we use in our sessions which help young people solve literacy problems. And sharing the targets we've set and progress we've noted with teaching staff helps join everything up, for example using an IEP or an IPP. Okay, next up is the importance of tailoring what we do for a range of individuals. Because everyone is on their own path and brings their own background experiences, strengths and interests to the literacy group. For example, we might have young people with special educational needs, or for whom English is an additional language, or speech, language and communication needs. and so we can help individuals with additional needs by avoiding assumptions and teaching vocabulary explicitly. As someone working closely with pupils, you'll already notice that every learner brings something different, and that's a strength we can build on. We can also use pictures, videos, and actions to complement our speech, for example, when we look at unfamiliar words in reading or spelling. And so, the final ingredient of a great literacy intervention is the monitoring and celebration of progress. We can do this using short and regular assessments, for example, timed reading of a short passage, weekly spelling checks, or using a precision teaching approach, a guide to which and video is available at the EPS training library. We also want to keep clear records of our sessions so we can review what's working well and what progress is being made. Again, a template for record keeping can be downloaded from the EPS training library. And finally, we need to empathise with the young people in our intervention groups. If they haven't secured early literacy skills in reception in Year 1, it's a real disadvantage, and it usually requires significant additional effort to catch up. This effort should be praised and enthusiastically rewarded, whether you want to use stickers, certificates, bookmarks, golden time, a mention in the school newsletter, or a message sent home to parents. So let's blend all of our ingredients together and think about a summary. And the key principles which cut through every recommendation can be boiled down to a neat acronym, which is EPIC, and stands for Effective, Positive, Inclusive, and Collaborative. We've made a poster as a reminder of these key principles. And when our interventions have clear targets, consistent routines, and strong evidence bases, they are effective. And when they use regular assessments of progress, celebrate success, and focus on effort rather than scores, they are positive. And when they are tailored for individuals and based on best practice for students with special educational and language needs, they are inclusive. And when they are linked with our classroom learning and enable us to share useful information with our colleagues, they are collaborative. So as you plan your next session, ask yourself, how can I make it just a little more epic? Thanks very much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and relevant to your role. On the Educational Psychology Service Training Library webpage, which is linked below this video, you'll be able to request your certificate for completing this training, download a range of guides and tools which help with the running of a literacy intervention, and find links to all our other training series, including training series on attendance issues, challenging behaviour, transitions between schools, working memory, and autism and learning support. You'll also find a video and tons of resources related to precision teaching, which is a free, proven method for boosting literacy skills that only takes a few minutes a day.